Riverside FM. It's a podcasting platform. Never use it. It's garbage. I have had to take the audio from 3 podcasts now because there's latency when we record these, and I watch them back and nothing is synced up. So everything you see in this podcast, the previous one, and the one before that, I have had to go into the individual clips, separate the WAV files from the actual MP4 footage and sync every word to match the person's mouth throughout this podcast. This has taken hours to do. I don't ever use Riverside FM. If anybody knows a solution to this or knows anything about Riverside FM, please let me know. But until then, I will be moving back to StreamYard. Can't use Zoom because the quality's trash. But besides the point, welcome back to another episode of Brass Tack Bodybuilding. Before we get started here, I want to talk about HD Muscle's new drop. We just dropped 2 new flavors, strawberry shortcake and caramel brownie. I have been absolutely loving strawberry shortcake. I love chocolate, but chocolate can be a bit too much for me sometimes. Still a great flavor, but the strawberry shortcake is absolutely phenomenal in my opinion. And we also dropped a few new shirts as well. If you're not familiar with Dorian Hamilton, he's the owner of HD Muscle, also owns another clothing company called Heavy D, and they dropped these clothes. A few of them are actually partnered with Heavy D, so they're just really good material, and I wouldn't be talking about this if I didn't actually enjoy the material. I hate those like cardboard shorts that feel like they're fucking choking you, just shitty material. These are actually really soft. So I think it's the Gothic Blackout, the Collegiate, and the Academy one might be partnered with Heavy D, but grab them if you want, if you like them. If you don't, I don't know. You can't really even see it right now, but it's soft. I like it, and the most important thing to me when it comes to merchandise is it fucking comfortable, and do I want to wear it? Do I want to train in it? I don't really care how much it looks, although they do look pretty fire if you're asking me, but they feel better. Anyways, make sure you are subscribed to the podcast, to the channel. Make sure you like this video. Make sure you leave a comment down below. It helps a lot. Any questions, anybody you want to see come on, let me know. I forgot to say use code SEB if you want anything from HD. Obviously, I need to plug that, but without further ado, let's get right into this.
How you doing, man?
Good. I'm 4 weeks out from Colorado State Championships and then 6 from USA's. So
Okay, so you're going to the USA's. Have you done nationals before?
No, this will be my first time.
That's exciting. You're still with Burzicott, right?
Yep, still with Matt Burzicott. So
Burzicott's great.
Yeah, he's awesome. I watched your guys' podcast a couple weeks ago.
Yeah, he's funny. I love him. You see all the stuff he's posting on Instagram now?
Yeah. I mean, he's learning a lot about himself and everybody else, and he's having a lot of personal growth. So I'm happy for him. He's becoming a better man and coach. So it's awesome to see.
100%. I wonder if he's gonna stay down there. You were down there. I never saw you when you came down though.
Yeah, I was only there for a few days. I think I was there just for 2 or 3 days on the weekend, and then came back. My mom lives out there too, so I went to see her as well.
Okay, yeah, that's right. She owns that fishing thing. What, in Tampa?
Yeah, it's a dolphin tour company. They out of Anna Maria Island. They
Dolphin tour company.
Mm-hmm.
That's pretty fucking cool.
They take you to all the sandbars on their boat and let you walk around, see the dolphins and all the fish and shells and all that stuff.
That's awesome. How's Waddy doing? We should have had Waddy come on here.
Yeah, we should. Waddy's doing good. He was supposed to be at posing class yesterday. He said, I'll be there. And I was like, all right, cool. And then next thing you know, he's on a road trip. So I don't know what he's doing right now.
Yeah. Waddy's another character. I love Waddy. But let's get into your backstory, man. I guess a lot of people watching this probably aren't going to be familiar with you. I know you because you're from Denver. You're from Colorado. We were at the same gym. But I think you have a pretty inspirational story that a lot of people could probably take something away from. So, let's just start off with who you are, from the start.
Yeah, all right. Let's start from the beginning. Well, I was born in 1997, like we said here, just right outside Denver, Colorado. I was born as a twin. I have a twin brother and then 2 older sisters, and then an older half brother or a younger half brother and an older step brother because my parents did get divorced and remarried. But I guess I kind of want to start with my athletic career. At 5 years old, I started wrestling because my family wrestled. They actually, I had cousins that would run the youth program here in Colorado, so we come from like a long line of wrestlers. So at 5 years old, my dad put me in wrestling, and just kind of really took off from there. I played other sports, but wrestling was the main one, and it was just what we did all year round. 7 days a week we wrestled. from 5 years old all the way to 20. My dad would take me to practices, push me in workouts, started training. I think hated wrestling my first 2 years.
Now let me ask you
Um,
something, because
yeah.
you grew up in that environment. Did you see Iron Claw?
I haven't seen Iron Claw, but that's that
I,
WWE wrestling.
yeah,
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 that's fake wrestling is what
yeah.
I call it.
It's different. I was just curious if you saw it, but I do know a lot of kids that grew up like that. I'm from I'm from New York, but I grew up in the Poconos, so I'm sure you're familiar with like that area is very well known for wrestling in Pennsylvania. They're really good wrestling teams.
Yeah.
Yeah, but all those kids, their parents. I don't know if your father was like this. Is very hard on them. Very
Yes.
disciplined, and it's like from an outside perspective, a lot of people would also almost look at that like, wow, like you're abusive, but I wouldn't say that. It's just, it instills something in you mentally, and I think it creates, it just makes you it makes you so much stronger, right? And what was your experience like with your parents being in that environment, being forced to, I don't want to say forced, but being in that wrestling environment from such a young age?
No, I'm glad you mentioned that because I'd rather someone come from someone else first. But no, that's exactly how I was raised. From 5 years old, we were pushed really hard. I'm sure that's probably not done anymore these days, or if it is, it's not talked about. We were running, doing push-ups, sit-ups. Running in trash bags in the weekend on Friday nights to make weight for Saturday tournaments at 7, 8 years old. Practices were intense. We would, just push each other until another kid broke, and then you would find another partner and go again, and that's how we did it for 15 years. And wrestling community is definitely a little bit of like a subculture, it's unique in that, not a lot of media coverage, there's not the fame, there's not the glory to it. It is like what you said, it's a grind. And I think that kind of really leads to my mindset in bodybuilding now. I just have that consistency from wrestling and that dedication that, like, this is what I'm going to do every day, whether I'm tired, I'm exhausted, I have an injury, I don't want to go. It's just it's in my routine and it's part of who I am. So I think that once I kind of transitioned from wrestling to bodybuilding, I just kind of kept that same mindset and that same work ethic into my bodybuilding career.
Now, when you were younger going through this, was it just like you and your teammates and your coach, or was your like father very involved in this as well?
Oh, very involved. My dad didn't miss a single match. He was at every practice that he could be at. Every single match is recorded. I think we probably have thousands of USB chips of just wrestling matches.
But was he pushing you? Like, were you practicing at home, and like, was he doing
Yes.
all of that stuff outside of just the
Yes.
practice?
I actually had a wrestling room or a wrestling mat in my basement for a few years. And throughout the week, he would call other dads and they would bring their sons and we would wrestle in the basement and they would just sit there and coach us and watch us wrestle and, like, push us to be great. So, and at the time I hated it, but now looking back, I'm so grateful that, we did that because it made me who I am. It made me a great wrestler and, really it pushed me to excel in the sport.
Hmm. Yeah, I do see that a lot with kids that I know that wrestled throughout high school and were raised in that environment. They just have this unwavering amount of discipline. And you see a lot of these guys that do transfer over into bodybuilding. They are the guys. I don't want to say just wrestling. I would say like some football too. You see it in some football players, but the
Mhm.
transition from that background into bodybuilding is so much fucking easier for those guys because they're just used to doing shit without question. They're also way more coachable as athletes, right? They just follow and execute, which I'm sure Bershkat would attest to that you do. I mean, you have a fucking crazy. How old are you? Same age as me, right? 25.
I'm 26. I think I'm 1 year older than you. Yeah.
Okay, yeah, you're natural though, and you have an insane physique. I think most people will probably think that you're on gear, especially with the shit that you've gone through, which we haven't even touched on yet. But yeah, it's definitely it's crazy. There is a good movie though on wrestling. I think it's called Foxtrotter.
Yeah, so Foxtrot was based off of
It's a
the
famous wrestler.
Schultz brothers, yes, and a kind of an investor that helped sponsor USA Wrestling at the time, but kind of just became very corrupt and it's played by Channing Tatum and all in that. But yeah, I mean, it's more of a drama. It's not really a great movie that kind of represents wrestling as far as like showing the actual sport. But it is awesome to kind of see that we're getting more coverage lately, for
Yeah.
sure.
So
But go back to that question you were asking right before you talked about the movie. I kind of spaced it already.
the transition into bodybuilding.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I guess we have two Mr. Olympias. If Derek Lunsford wrestled,
Yeah.
and Sean Clarita.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that kind of a good point, like you were saying, is it just shows that like with that background, you just maintain that consistency and that work ethic and mindset going into it.
Yeah, and then obviously you were in the weight room from what age?
Oh man, I would say the first time I benched 225, I was in 8th grade.
Yeah, see, this is the shit that I talk about that these kids don't understand now. Everybody's a fake natural, everybody's this, everybody's that, and it's like,
Yeah,
dude, when we were in high school, like it was not uncommon to see kids benching 225 when you're 14 years old. It was not uncommon to see kids benching 315 in high school. Like I even saw kids fucking rep through 405 in high school on bench. And
yeah,
these kids were natural. There's freak genetics, but just that athleticism, discipline, elite genetics, which obviously we have the whole aspect of like the decline of testosterone now and everybody's like the whole iPad generation. I don't know what's going on with that, but we just don't see it anymore for whatever reason. But obviously you experienced it as well.
right. And me and Matt have talked about this in the past too. Like a lot of kids just don't have the stability in the joints in them and just the muscle control that they used to have at a younger age because they're not playing youth sports or middle school sports and things like that anymore. When I was in 8th grade, they actually cut middle school sports, so I never got to do middle school sports. I was always in a competitive league, but like our schools cut them out because of funding. But I think that's a good point. Like these kids don't really touch free weights until they're probably junior, senior year in high school, if that. And
Mm-hmm.
then they're just learning from YouTube, or Instagram, TikTok, and seeing who's popular and doing what they're trying to do. And it's probably not the best thing a lot of the times.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, you see it now. Like the fitness industry has expanded so much, and there's so many more people getting involved, which is great. But at the same time, I don't know. I don't know if it's just my perception, because I'm not at that age, but it does seem like we just had way more athletic kids when
Yes, yeah,
a few decades ago, which you would think with the way things are now and how much more exposure it has, it should be the opposite. But for whatever reason, it doesn't seem that way. And then you also see, I feel like I'm shit talking on an entire generation. If you guys were in this generation watching this, I'm trying to help you guys do the right thing. So, but I'm just trying to point out the fact that like something changed. There was a drastic shift within the past 10, 20 years. And I don't know what exactly caused it. I think it obviously has a lot to do with technology. I think that's probably the biggest aspect. But yeah, and then it's unfathomable for these people to believe the stuff that we talk about that we experienced in high school. Like I went to high school with kids that, without a single doubt in my mind, this is not just an assumption. It's if you even know how to just look at a physique and look at somebody, multiple of these guys could have been top Olympia contenders if they gave actual effort,
yes,
right? The way they
yeah,
looked at 16, 17 years old while eating a fucking 1,500 calorie diet, drinking chocolate milk, eating bullshit, and then hitting the weights, and how they were able to look like that. If they gave any effort and pursued bodybuilding, without a single doubt, every advantage they would have had, they would have been on that stage. And I just don't think you really see that now.
No, I mean, and I had a friend that played football in high school and just amazing physique, like, just crazy genetics, huge arms, big legs, wide back, and like you said, dude, if he would have just had some coaching or someone telling him getting him on a diet, he would have been amazing, phenomenal. I don't know what he's up to anymore, but he would have been great. There's no doubt about it. But I think that's true. I think the technology is the biggest thing because, like, when we were growing up and outside, we were outside all day. We were on the trampoline, we were on our bikes, we were running around the street. Like,
Played
I was
manhunt, skateboarding.
rarely inside. I think I didn't. I got Xbox 360 probably in like 8th grade or freshman year.
Mm-hmm.
So like I started playing then a little bit, but like before that, it was just me and my brother and my friends playing outside and doing wrestling, doing other sports. And I just don't think that that's as common as it used to be.
Mm-hmm. I think I don't know. I don't. There's obviously a huge decline in testosterone. I don't know exactly what attributes to that. There's so many theories behind it. Microplastics. I think there is something to be said about microplastics. I haven't done too much research on it. I also think at the same time, like, people like overemphasize a lot of shit, and I don't know if people are necessarily like having 100 nanograms of testosterone at 17 because of the microplastic. Because has that really changed in the past 20 years? I don't know. I feel like if there were microplastic, we were probably consuming them too, and we're fine. But I think it probably has a lot to do with the technology more than anything, and the level of activity that these kids have and what they're exposed to. And it probably just rots their brain. I don't fucking know.
Yeah, and just expectations. Like, you get participation medals everywhere you go now. And it's like, when I grew up, I can't tell you how many medals I've threw away in the trash. Like, if they weren't first, and I was upset, and they were thrown away.
Yeah. So,
yeah.
Did you go to college?
Yes, I went to UNC, University of Northern Colorado, and I wrestled for them too.
Okay, so when did you make the transition from wrestling into bodybuilding?
Okay, so this is kind of going to lead into the whole story.
Yeah.
With my head. So, I had wrestled for 15 years. Finished out high school great. So I was excited to go Division I, go wrestle for UNC. Freshman year, I went to UNC, wrestled great. I wrestled at 149 pounds. I won 3 of the open tournaments as a true freshman. I didn't start my freshman year. And then I went back my sophomore year, and I was really depressed. I was really in a slump. I wasn't happy with where I was at, with just all my situation with wrestling, and I just had slowly started to not enjoy it anymore. And looking back, I think it was because I just never took a break. I was so focused, and I just wanted that national title, wanted to break that lineup more than anything. I would have probably given my life if someone was like, "Hey, you can get a national title, but I'm going to take your life after." Like, I would have absolutely done that. And wrestling had just started to just kind of be more negative to my mindset, because it just made me start to like just hate myself, which was really difficult because it was my entire identity.
Yeah.
It was everything to me. And then I was having these conversations with therapists at the school, which weren't very beneficial, that they can't relate. Having conversations with my dad, he would come up to campus, talk to me, and it was just really strange. I couldn't really give you a reason of why I quit wrestling, why I stopped. But I just told my dad, I was like, I finished out freshman year, I started my sophomore year on the team, and then that happened, and I just told my dad, I was like, I think I'm done. I'm done wrestling. I don't enjoy it anymore. And so I just took a break. About 8 months later, after I had just kind of given myself some time, I was like, you know what? I kind of want to get back on the mat again. Like, I do miss just drilling, wrestling a little bit, being out there with my friends and team. So I reached back out to the coach, and I was like, hey, I'm going to come back and just start wrestling a little bit. He was like, great, come on in. So this was about a week before my incident. So it was really, really just strange timing.
How old are you?
I was 20.
Okay.
Yeah. So then about a week later, after I texted that coach, I was in arm rest doing a shoulder press on the Cybex Smith machine.
Okay, wait, so prior to this, you had already started training like a bodybuilder.
Yeah, I mean, I was always lifting weights. I was always training. I always knew once wrestling was gone, I wanted to bodybuild.
Okay, so you already had like interest in bodybuilding throughout high school and stuff? Did you already knew what it was?
Yes, it was more of just like, hey, I want to get big and strong. Who are the biggest, strongest guys in the world? Bodybuilders, I just kind of gravitated towards who I liked. Honestly, I watched millions of YouTube videos teaching myself how to do these movements, what to do in the gym. I think probably the most beneficial video I've watched was one of Kai Green's squatting videos. I think Kai Green taught me how to squat on YouTube. Plain and simple as that.
He always squatted last.
Huh?
He always squatted last at the end of the workout.
He would. What do you mean?
He would always do squats at the end of the leg workout.
Yeah. And he'd be like, had like 6 plates on there, just repping it out.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and he would be in like those tight leggings. So I would just watch. I'd watch his knees. I'd watch his ankles, his hips. Just try to watch the angle that he's moving,
Yeah.
where his chest is, and I would just watch everything like that, and just teach myself and try to just replicate what they're doing. And that's kind of how I taught myself
Now,
movements in the gym.
were you already in armrest? Were you in that environment?
Yeah,
So
yeah.
when did you start going to armrest?
2018. That would have been my freshman year of college. Like literally, right when I stopped like right after I stopped wrestling, I just was following Phil Heath too, and I was like, hey, I know he's in Armbrust. Armbrust is in Arvada, and I'm gonna go there.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah.
I
So I
just
mean,
kind of
you
had the
were
same mindset. Like when you wrestle with great kids, you're gonna get better. So I was like, well, if the best in the world are at this gym, I'm going to that gym.
yeah. That probably helped a lot. Just being in that environment, I love that environment.
Yeah, and I actually worked there right after I stopped wrestling. I worked there for
Oh
about eight
shit.
months,
Okay.
and Phil was prepping for that. Would have been the 2016 Olympia. So that was the one he lost to Sean.
Uh huh.
And I was working there, and I actually had the closing shift. So, and he would come in right after close on Sundays. So I would close up, he'd come in, and we'd both work out. And it was awesome because it would just be him in there by himself, and I would just watch him and learn. And I
Oh
wouldn't
wow.
even talk to him. I would just let him do his thing, watch him, and when he was done, I did what he did right after him.
You just followed him around.
Yeah, yeah. He
Did
probably
he know
doesn't
what you were
realize.
doing?
I don't think so. Probably not. We only talked probably like once or twice, just short highs and buys, but that's what I did.
That's awesome. That's
Yeah,
hilarious.
and then yeah, and I also did that with Brett and Martin a little bit when they were in there.
Oh yeah, yeah. They were fucking animals.
Yeah.
But
But yeah, no, that's the thing is like if you want to get really good at something, you have to watch the best people do it and
mhm.
surround yourself with those people.
Yeah. We'll touch back on that because that's a good point. But
Mhm.
back to your story. Let's pick back up there.
All right, we get sidetracked a lot.
You were 20 years old.
20 years old. I had just quit wrestling. I was in armrest. Was doing a shoulder press on that Smith machine, and I felt something in my neck pop, and I was like, "Oh shit!" Like I slip a disc, tear something. Injuries happen. Nothing crazy. And I set the weight down, and I just started like dripping sweat, and then my head started pounding. Um,
Was this like a very heavy set or was it light? Like what was?
it was heavy. It was heavy. For me at the time.
Okay.
I don't remember exactly what it was, but
So
yeah, it
it
was
was
heavy.
something that you would have expected. Like I could have got injured. It wasn't like you were warming up.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it was probably
Hmm.
heavy 8 to 12 or something like that.
Okay.
Um, so I was doing that press, and then like I said, the pop happened. I started dripping sweat, like just profusely sweating, and then a headache started to come on. So I went to the posing room there, and I just started laying down, trying to stretch and just relax, figure out what was going on, and then the headache and just started getting worse and worse and worse, to where it was like a migraine. My head was pounding. So I called my dad because I couldn't drive, and I was like, "Can you come get me?" So he came and picked me up, drove me home. I laid down, and it just got so much worse. I had like um, worst migraine, worst pain in my entire life. My vision went completely black. I couldn't see anything. So then I started to panic. My dad throws me in his truck. I'm vomiting, throwing up all over the car because I'm in so much pain. We get to the hospital. My dad rushes me in and he's yelling at the nurses, "Help me." So they bring me into this room. They give me 3 bags of morphine. It doesn't do a single thing.
Wow. Holy shit.
All it does is just piss me off, makes me crazy because I'm already in pain.
Yeah.
Um, so then they start giving me like Tylenol codeine or Tylenol 3 or whatever they call it. And it starts to subside the pain a little bit, which is really strange. So they're like, that's unusual that the morphine didn't work, but that did. So they do a CT scan. And about 30 minutes later, they come back. It's me, my wife, my dad, and my mom in the room. And they're like, we found about a golf ball sized tumor in your son's right occipital lobe. And if the pain doesn't subside here shortly, we're going to have to do emergency surgery on it.
What is right occipital lobe?
Right occipital lobe controls your left vision.
Okay. So is that
So it's like
right,
middle right side.
middle right side? Okay.
Yeah. So that was just absolute shock.
Mm-hmm.
Like I can't even explain that moment, but it was really strange because I can see it in my mind, like it was today.
Mm-hmm.
Me laying in the hospital bed, my dad's to my right, my mom and wife are to my left. We got the little hospital TV on, and it's Harry Potter playing, and it's really strange because it's like the scene where the snake is coming through,
With the last
and
one, Deathly Hallows Part 2?
yeah, it's where he's talking to the snake and it's going around, and it's just like now that I think back, and I'm just like, damn, the devil was coming for me that day. The serpent was out.
Oh,
So
fuck.
yeah, dude, but yeah, and it was just absolutely insane. Like my whole life had just shifted just like that out of nowhere.
Wait, so they did surgery right there?
No, so the pain went down, so it subsided. I stayed in the hospital for about 3 days. Went home, and then we started meeting with brain surgeons around the state. We went to around probably 5 or 6. I guess let me backpedal a little bit. My dad was just, I remember being there with my family and just being in tears and crying, and my dad was just like, we're going to do everything we can to beat this. We're going to do everything we can to fight this. Don't worry. We're going to do we're just going to find a way, just like we always have.
Yeah.
So then the next week, we're calling everybody, looking everything up for neurosurgeons. We go all over the state, Anschutz Medical Center, CU, all these different surgeons around the state. And I finally find this guy that, they all seem great. They're all neurosurgeons. They're all credited people. But, I just didn't get the right vibe from a lot of these guys.
Yeah.
But I met this one guy, he seemed like a normal guy, trustworthy. So we ended up choosing that guy to go with the surgery. So the incident happened November 10th of 2018. My 21st birthday was November 20th of 2018. So it was 10 days before my 21st birthday.
Okay.
So it wasn't a great one. But, so then I found that surgeon. I had my first surgery, brain surgery, of December of 2018. So about a month after I was diagnosed.
Okay.
We come out of surgery. I was in there for about 6 hours. He's like, I got what I believe to be majority of the tumor. It is in a hard area, so I couldn't get complete resection of the tumor. So we're going to run a biopsy on this and see what comes back. I believe it's going to be benign, but I don't want to tell you anything until we do the biopsy. So we do the biopsy, get it back, and I get diagnosed with grade 4 glioblastoma, which is the most deadliest brain cancer.
Yes. This was after you had surgery.
Yes. They did the biopsy after because he was basically said, whether it's benign or not, that tumor is large and it needs to come out.
Okay. So they take the tumor out.
Yes.
At this point, does that mean you're fine?
No. So they took the tumor out. They didn't get a complete resection of the cavity, so there's still part of the tumor left.
Okay.
Then they run a biopsy on the tissue they did remove. And then the biopsy comes back, and then that's when I was diagnosed with grade 4 glioblastoma, which is the most deadliest brain cancer. There is like a 5%, or only 5% of people survive past 5 years.
That's fucking crazy.
Mm-hmm.
So what exactly is a glioblastoma? What does that entail? What does that mean?
So a glioma is like a brain tumor or brain mass.
Okay.
And then the blastoma kind of refers back to what is of a cellular structure. So like the cell structure of a glioblastoma cancer cell is an astrocytoma. So it's like in the shape of a star. So the cancer cells have like tentacles. So they embed themselves in the surrounding tissue and continue to grow that way, which is why it's so difficult to fight brain cancer, because it continues to replicate quickly and just embeds itself in the healthy tissue all around.
Okay. So a brain tumor is just referred to as a glioblastoma?
No, not necessarily. There's different kinds of brain tumors. Glioblastoma is just one of the cancerous types of. brain tumors.
And what does that entail? Is it just come with like a fatality? Is that really like the main thing?
Yes, pretty much, because a lot of the times it will metastasize or grow to the point where the survival rate is really low, and it grows quickly.
You said less than 5% of people survive past 5 years.
Yes, and they gave me 18 months.
Wow.
They
Eh.
said we'll be lucky if we can get you to live another 18 months.
And what did you do from that point on?
Um, I mean, obviously it was a big scare, you know. Immediately we started doing radiation and chemo
Did you
right
believe
after
it?
this. Yes, I mean, I had seen all the scans. They had showed me the scans. I read the biopsy reports. I started doing so many studies of what it was. There is no way of knowing how you get it. You know, they don't believe it's genetic either. So I don't know what caused it. But you know, I mean, the mass was pretty big for sure.
There's no idea of what could have contributed to it. Like they have no clue.
No, but you know, thinking back, like this is my personal belief is it's so strange that it happened right when I was going to go back to wrestling.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and I feel like it was maybe from head trauma from years of wrestling.
Yeah,
You know, just causing that mutation to happen or damage to happen, but you know, maybe not. But I also feel like it was kind of God's way of saying, "Hey, no, you're done with this. You know, it's time to move on from wrestling. We're not doing that anymore."
yeah,
And you know, and I had to kind of recreate myself, find a new way, and you know, focus on my health, and that's kind of really what cancer forced me to do.
definitely. So when you were wrestling, did you experience many concussions throughout that time frame?
Yes. I mean, not that they were diagnosed or I would even tell anybody because then you wouldn't be able to wrestle,
So you
you
never
know, but
actually went and like got them checked.
no, I know I definitely had one my sophomore year of high school because that was bad. I remember that day. And then, you know, we're always head fighting, hand fighting, and wrestling, head to head, head butting, and things like that. Like, it was just normal.
Okay. So with when they discovered that it was this stage 4, does that indicate that you've had it for a specific amount of time frame?
No, they base the stages off of how large the mass is and how, like, deadly the cancer is.
Mm-hmm. So you have no idea how long you could have had that there for.
No idea.
Wow. Okay.
And
So you,
I never had any brain scan. I never even had a surgery until this brain surgery.
wow.
I mean, I had cauliflower ear, broken fingers, broken toes, you know, little minor injuries, but I never needed any major surgeries or any head MRIs. So there's never been a scan done on my head until that happened.
Yeah. So the only way they could see it is through getting the MRI.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. So you just would never know. So you start radiation, and what happens?
Radiation and chemo together. Lost my hair. And then like just really severe like joint pain, fatigue, nausea. I was still in school. You know, I just went to class with a hat on every day. Drove up to Greeley and went to class. My wife would drive me to radiation appointments every morning. And I would go to the gym in the afternoons.
You're still
I
training.
went, yeah, I went back to the gym 2 weeks after my brain surgery. And
Wow.
I started squatting 315 is the first thing I did.
What the
Put the
fuck?
weight. I don't know, man. I was in a weird mindset too. It was just kind of like, you know, if this is the timeline they're giving me, then I'm gonna do what I love to do. Plain and simple as that. Like, um, but then that was in December, so then I went for a checkup in January at Anschutz Medical Center downtown, and they told me that they did another scan, and the tumor had completely grown back.
This is how
A
long
month
after?
later, a
1 month
month later,
later, after the surgery,
after the first surgery.
the whole thing grew back.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
So I'm meeting with that surgeon, and he's like, I went to school in Wisconsin and I met this great doctor. He was my teacher. His name is Mustafa Baskaya. Um, I don't trust. I would trust him with my own son, and I don't know if we were to do another surgery if I'm a good enough surgeon to get a complete resection of that tumor. So he refers me to that guy. Um, we go over there. I meet him. We also go to MD Anderson in Houston. We go to Mayo Clinic, and we try to see a bunch of other people too. But then we go out to Wisconsin, and I meet his mentor and his teacher from college. And he's a world-renowned neurosurgeon. He's like on the board or a chairman of neurosurgery too around the world. He's been on the news a lot. Like he actually did brain tumor on a pregnant woman, ended up saving him, or brain surgery on a pregnant woman, ended up saving her and her child. There's a bunch of stories like that. So I met this guy, and I could just tell right away, like he was just exactly who they all said he was. Like just an amazing surgeon. You know, he was very straight to the point, honest, and just positive too, which I liked, because a lot of those doctors are just so like critical and they're so logical, and he was just full of energy, and just he made me feel comfortable. And so
Yeah.
I went and did that surgery actually in May, so about 4 months later after that, out there in Wisconsin. And
Okay.
they actually have this MRI machine where they do the surgery, put you in an MRI machine, see if there's any tumor left, pull you out, take more, put you back in, and take more, and they can just do that until they don't see any trace of disease.
Okay.
So I think he had to put me in and out of that machine 4 or 5 times. It was like an 8-hour surgery, the second brain surgery.
Wow, that's crazy.
Yeah. Wake up the next day. Obviously we had to spend actually 2 weeks in Wisconsin for that recovery. So we were out there for a while. And then we came home and immediately started radiation and chemo again.
Okay. And from this surgery, did they take everything out?
Yeah, he got a complete resection.
Complete recession. Okay. That's
Mm-hmm.
awesome. So you start radiation and chemo again, and what happens from this point moving forward?
That's so I kind of backtrack a little bit. That's when I started losing my hair. That's when my wife was just driving me back and forth from chemo every morning. This is kind of going into COVID now. This is like probably 2019, some fall, and then going into 2020 of January, going into COVID. So, everything shut down. I'm doing college classes online to graduate, while going through all this treatment. Driving up to Greeley for school like once or twice a week for my in-class classes. And just really just grinding out school to get that over with, because I only had a year left.
Yeah.
Yep. And then at the same time, that's when I really met Matt too.
Was Matt living in Colorado?
Yes. Yeah. So I actually met Matt right before I got diagnosed. So
Matt left Colorado right before I moved there, I'm assuming then.
yes, right before you moved there, probably about 6 months maybe.
Wow, okay.
Yeah, so Matt had just taken second at nationals again, and he moved to Colorado and opened up a gym. And I remember before he opened a gym, he was in arm breaths, and I saw him, and I was just like, "That's the biggest guy in here with the best physique I've ever seen in person." Obviously other than Phil.
Was
And
he
I
bigger
just
than Brett and Martin at that point?
yeah,
That's funny.
because Brett had just turned pro, so Brett was
Yeah.
Brett hadn't moved there yet.
Okay.
Yeah. So I saw Matt, and I was just like, went right up to him, and I was just like, I want to work out with you. Like I need someone to coach me. I need a workout partner. I need someone, and he had just moved there, didn't know anybody. And we just kind of just clicked like that, man. Like, and we just started working out every day. And then eventually he opened up his gym. So I started going to his gym and working out with him there. And
He had a gym there.
Yeah.
What? Where?
Yeah, just about probably a mile from Armbrust. There's a little private gym because he was doing private training for like youth athletes primarily.
Okay.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yep. So then we would work out there, and then he was kind of going through. We were both going through probably one of the darkest times of our lives together.
Mm-hmm.
I think he talked about that in your guys' podcast right about that time.
Was that when he
You
lived in
know,
Colorado? That whole with the heart surgery?
no, that was after, right when he moved to Florida, that happened.
Okay.
But yeah, he was going through like a breakup and stuff
Hmm.
in Colorado. So like we would work out, and then we were both going through a lot at the time, so we would just always, talk to each other, vent to each other. I think that's kind of how we got close so quickly.
Hmm.
We just related a lot on those issues, and you know, kind of just tried to motivate each other and be the person for each other during that time.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you start chemo, you radiation. How long do you do this for?
So radiation was about a year combined with chemo.
Okay. When you had that second surgery, did they still say the same thing that you had about 18 months, or did that change?
They didn't change any of that. They kept it the
Okay.
same, and they were just kind of like, well, now that we have a complete resection, we want to make sure we hit that area with radiation to kill any remaining cells and then keep up with the chemo. So we did that for a year. I graduated college, me and my wife both did in 2020. Um, December of 2020. And we actually got married in January of 2023. Um, and then, or of 2021, sorry, I'm skipping years now, of 2021.
Yeah.
And then I stopped chemo and radiation, and they switched me from a normal chemo, it's called Temodar for brain cancer. They switched me to what's called a BRAF inhibitor. It's a targeted chemotherapy.
Okay.
So basically, when they did the biopsy of my tumor, they also found that there was called a BRAF gene in it. And you
Okay.
usually find BRAF gene in like melanoma cancer, skin cancer.
Okay. What is that?
Um, so it's like a protein within the cell. They
Okay.
found. So then what they were thinking was like, well, what if we give him a targeted therapy that targets the BRAF protein that is usually used for melanoma? So they took me off the Temodar chemo, and they put me on this targeted therapy that targets the BRAF gene, and that's a pill form. So I take 3 pills in the morning and 3 pills at night, and I've been on that chemo for the last 4 years.
It's just pills you have to take.
Yep.
Okay. And I'm assuming it's obviously been working.
Yeah, no, I mean, since we switched to that targeted therapy, I have had clean scans for the last 4 years.
Yeah, that's amazing. So you're
Yeah.
you're past the 5 year mark.
Um, yeah, as of November, yeah.
That's amazing. So you're in that 5%.
Mm-hmm.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's insane. Um,
So now
now,
I take my pills still morning and night, my chemo.
yeah, that's so. What I'm confused about here is why do they give you an 18-month time frame if they're able to get everything out? Because doesn't that mean if like all the cells are gone that you should be good? Like, what is the continuing risk at that point? Why is there still a risk of fatality?
Well, because they got all of the cells that they could see on a scan, right? I mean, obviously they're microscopic, and typically in the past there's a 99% death or fatality rate. It comes back.
Yeah.
I've actually met a lot of people online. Like there's they call it GBM, glioblastoma multiform is what it's called. But GBM, like I would just start clicking on all these hashtags and meeting other people with it. Asking what treatments they're doing, what's worked for them, what hasn't. And I've followed some people that unfortunately have passed, and other ones that are doing great too. And it seems like everyone's treatment program is a little bit different. So just like you would coaching someone, everyone's going to be slightly different. So I think that's why it's really hard for them to put me in remission or decide on dates or decide when I'm going to be totally cancer free, because they don't know.
Yeah. So you've been on this medication that targets the BRAF gene.
Hmm.
Uh, why exactly is the BRAF gene an issue?
I don't know. I don't know that, to be honest with you. I don't. I just know that it was present, and if that cancer cell has that gene and we can target it, then if you target that gene, it'll collapse the whole cell and kill that whole cell or
Okay.
that protein within that cell.
Okay, so does that kind of in a way give you like an advantage if it does have that cell because you could target it rather than if it didn't? Would it be harder
Yeah.
to?
Yeah, yes. And there's like, I don't know if you know anything about this, but there's like methylated and non-methylated cells and stuff too.
I know
But
somewhat, but not in this context.
yeah, I don't either. But like, I guess you have a better survival rate if it's non-methylated than if it is methylated too. So
Okay.
there's so many factors, and and I couldn't tell you more than that, man. Like I try to read as many peer review studies and online studies that I can, but it's forever changing. So it's
Okay.
so difficult.
So before you started that medication versus after you took it, what what are the like major differences?
Yeah, yeah, definitely. The first chemo that I was on, that Temodar, was brutal. Major joint pain, fatigue, nausea, constipation, all of that. And then the new one, the BRAF gene targeted therapy that I've been on, when I first started, was really bad joint pain and muscle pain. So they pulled back the dose, and then they slowly subsided. And honestly, I don't have any side effects, dude.
That's
I
awesome.
had some skin stuff a little bit after they lowered it. And then once my body kind of got used to it, nothing.
And that's all you have to take now is just those pills.
Yeah.
Okay. How often do you get MRIs?
Every 4 months.
Every 4 months. Okay. All clean. No issues in the past 4 years.
Nope. Nothing. No growth in the last 4 years.
That's amazing. So, do you think I don't know if you've like just based off of the other people you've met, what doctors have told you, you know what you've seen with yourself or what you've researched. Do you think that your success here, your recovery, your ability to be within this 5%, do you think it's mainly accredited to the medication? Do you think you having this active lifestyle is a huge part of that? Because I would assume that training and being healthy and doing the stuff that we do has only potentially helped.
No, I agree 100%. I think it helped, and honestly, I think it's the only reason I'm still here. I
Really?
think that if I would have stopped working out or stopped lifting in the gym, I'd be dead for sure. Absolutely. I would have lost so much weight. I would have been so much more weak. My immune system would have been weaker. I think I definitely would have been dead by now.
How was your mentality during this process?
Um,
Were you positive? Were you
all
negative? Were you very scared, upset?
all of the above, man. I think I started very scared, and then became very angry just with everything, like the whole, why me? Why do
Hmm.
I have to do this shit? I was so close, to being able to do what I love to do and get really good at it. All of those things. And then obviously kind of switched to complete just gratitude. Like, just realize, like, hey, I'm so lucky to still be here, do what I love to do. Um, and my family, like, I would say I was probably a very selfish person before cancer, no doubt about it. I had a full awakening during this, Matt would say.
Yeah.
100%. I was also an atheist before this, and it sounds cliche, but I'm a spiritual person now. I do believe in God, and I think that He took wrestling away from me and kind of gave me this cancer to realize that I have so many amazing people in my life and things that I need to do and help others, that I needed to shift who I was. And I think I think that was the reason why all of this happened, was I needed that push. I needed everything to get taken away from me to get to where I needed to be.
Yeah, that's a great perspective. It's just part of the growth that needed to happen for you. That's
Yeah.
definitely a great way to look at it. But throughout the process, did you have the mentality of I'm going to beat this, or did you feel defeated?
Started defeated for sure, but like I said, I had my dad and my wife and my mom, and they didn't let me feel that way. They said,
Hmm.
no, you're not a quitter, you've never been a quitter, and we're going to beat this, and you're going to keep doing what you love to do. And so without my family, and there's no way.
Yeah.
They're all amazing people, and they kept me positive for sure. My dad has always kept me positive, and I think that's the biggest thing I got out of this was just belief in myself. I was always a great wrestler. I got really good, my just junior, senior year, freshman year of college, and I still didn't like myself or didn't and had doubted myself. In the rep practice room, I could beat world champs. I could beat national champs. But then once we went to a tournament, went to a duel, and I had to perform, I didn't perform at that level. And I know now looking back that it was because I didn't believe in myself then,
Yeah,
in that sense.
yeah, that makes
You
sense.
know, it was I didn't do it for the enjoyment, for the love of it because I believed in myself and wanted it. I did it because I felt these pressures and that I had to win and I was only worth that win. That was my whole, I guess my whole self-confidence and self-worth was based on whether I won or not.
So prior to all this, would you say that you said you were selfish, but were you like a negative person? Did you feel very stressed? Were you, not, I guess, just positive? You said you didn't believe in yourself.
Yeah. And angry, man. Like I was not a very I don't want to say I wasn't a bully, but like I wasn't nice, man. Like I got in hundreds of fights growing up
Hmm.
and regret a lot of things I probably said and done to people, but you know, nothing terrible, but nothing to feel good about either, like and I think I just needed that to
Yeah.
really just change who I was. And I'm so grateful that I happened, to be honest with you. Like every time I go and get an MRI done, I usually just I fall asleep in my MRIs now because I'm so used to them. But like the first 20-30 minutes, I just lay there and I thank God for my family, friends, and being here, and even for getting cancer because it made me who I am today.
Yeah. It's amazing. I'm asking this because obviously we hear a lot of these stories with the people who overcome these situations, and I do think, obviously the medication plays a factor. Obviously your overall lifestyle, being healthy, has to play a factor into this. But I think a huge overlooked aspect of this is your mentality, the mindset that you consistently try to have throughout processes like this, or really just in general. So, stress, high cortisol will literally kill you from the inside out. If you were a very stressed person, I mean, obviously, I don't want to make assumptions or anything, but like maybe that could have had some attribution to this, right? People will literally get diseases from just chronically high levels of cortisol. It will kill you from the inside out. And then you hear about the people who overcome stuff like this. It's never the people who are very negative and have no hope. It's the people who, stay mentally strong and have a positive outlook. And, I think that does play a huge factor in your ability to really fight off these diseases, because it all relates to the physiological process in the body, how you perceive everything. It all has an effect. I don't know if you are familiar with who Joe Dispenza is. Are you?
I know.
Okay, so Joe Dispenza is this guy who he has some wild claims. I don't know if I really believe the claims, but he has a great message out there. It's really just the power of the mind, as many people do. And he overcame. I think he had a broken back or something, and he really just, like he says, he's fixed it through his mind, which I don't know. It's fucking crazy to me. But the message of this whole point, it holds truth to it, and we have so many cases where people will say the same things. The people who overcome this stuff are the people who are mentally strong. So I feel like you maybe having that mindset in the past, obviously could have definitely didn't help you. And I think at the very least, what the mindset that you tried to have, dealing with this, definitely could have played a factor in your success, right? If you would have just gone into this, like you said, because the mindset you would have also translated into the effort that you gave in the gym, how you execute your days, the things that you do, right? Oh, like it's not even fucking worth it. I'm not gonna go to the gym, or like like I can't really do anything. And I mean, I don't know. I met you in 2021, so this was what, like a year after all this. Um, and you train fucking hard. You train harder than 99% of people. And like, you would think somebody in your situation is not doing that. You train balls to the fucking wall hard. Like, I'm pretty sure you threw up during leg workouts. Like, you go hard. You have that drive. And I think, obviously, again, it's not just the gym, it's the drive and the mentality behind it that has helped you a lot in this process.
No, I mean, it definitely. I 100% agree with all of that. I think your mind is everything. Whether it be in sports, work, family, life, your body, like it's everything. And I try to preach that to everybody now. I mean, I think I preach that to one of my best friends, Vince. You met him.
I know.
I preach that to my niece. You know, she's 14. She's a gymnast, and I try to preach to her all of that. Like, if someone would have told me this when I was your age, I would be much further than I am now, because like I just want her to be able to believe in herself, believe that she is capable of anything, and just like anybody. And if you put your mind to it and you just consistently focus on getting 1% better every day, anything is possible. And that's what I tell her: 1% better every day. That's all that matters.
Absolutely.
And that's the mindset I take too. You know, if I'm going to the gym, 1% better, maybe that's a little bit heavier weight, maybe that's better range of motion, maybe that's better execution on a movement. You know, maybe it's better tempo. It doesn't have to be this or that, but it can be some part of something every day that you get better on.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, obviously, I think I talk about this in every podcast at this point, where training is a skill. It's always just improving in some aspect. A lot of guys get stuck on beating the logbook, beating the numbers. I didn't go up in weight. I didn't go up in reps, and they get pissed off, and I'm plateauing. But like, are you plateauing? Because if you could progress. Progress doesn't have to be progressive overload. Like, you could still progress in aspects,
Right.
and they don't look at it that way, right? There's ways to get better in training, and this session in some aspect could have been better than the last. Doesn't have to be weight, doesn't have to be the amount of reps. Like, you could have just been better control, better tempo. You're tapping into connecting with that target muscle better, whatever. However it is you're improving. Maybe it's just the cardiovascular endurance that you have, and how wiped out you're getting throughout these sets, and how hard you're able actually to push yourself. There's so many aspects that you can improve upon, and people don't look at it that way. They just get stuck on the surface level things that really just feeds your ego more than anything else.
Mm-hmm.
But so what are the plans now? Actually, you can't take gear at all, right? With your situation?
I mean, no. I mean, I am 100% natural still. Obviously, I plan to become pro. So, I mean, obviously, I'm going to have to make that transition if I want to be competitive at that level eventually. You know, I'm not one of those natural guys that puts everybody else down that's on gear. You
Oh.
know, I will never do that. That is everyone's own personal choice. If that's something you want to do, good for you. I hope you stay healthy. I hope you're successful. But I will never push that on anybody else or tell them that they're wrong for doing it either. You know,
Yeah.
and I think that's kind of the misconception in the industry, is because it's like, just because they're claiming natural people think they're better, or people on gear think they're better because of this or that. And it's like, I am better than a lot of people that are on gear, and there's a lot of people on gear that are better than me. So it's like, it doesn't matter.
No, it doesn't matter. But are you? So you'd be willing to step over to that side at some point?
I mean, yes, I believe so.
That wouldn't
Because
have.
like I want to be, I'm going to be an IFBB pro one day. And I am not the kind of person who just wants to compete. If I'm going to compete, I want to compete to win.
Mm-hmm.
And I know at that level, it's necessary.
But that wouldn't have any like negative interaction with the thing you have.
There's no studies, they're not going to test that on people with gear, right? So it's going to be, it's going to be at my own discretion, my own choice, and obviously growth is 100% off the
Yeah.
table.
Yeah.
All of that stuff, I will have to, meet with doctors, with my coach, with my wife, consider all these different options, things I've been considering, is like, I after the show, after these next two shows, I want my body to kind of stabilize, get normal again. I want to go see what my natural levels are,
Mm.
for my tests, and then, you know, once maybe it does start to decrease as I get a little bit older, then make the decision to transition into, some TRT or something like that, because, I truly believe less is more,
Yeah.
so.
I mean,
And if I have this much muscle mass naturally, like, I feel like with just a little bit of help here and there, blow up.
yeah, I think so too. I mean, honestly, I don't know shit about the condition and what's going on, but I don't, from what I understand, which again, I don't know this, but I would be surprised if like even like a low dose of test or TRT would have a negative interaction with that. I mean, just that alone. Maybe other
Yeah.
stuff, I don't know, but um, I mean, you're just replacing your natural testosterone at that point. But again, I don't know. Talk to the right people.
Right.
Obviously, you got to talk
That's
to
the
people who
thing.
know this shit because you got to find the right
Yeah.
people who actually understand this and then understand the horror and can put everything together.
Exactly. And that's the tricky situation I'm in. Is waiting, but I can't wait too long. Like you still got a timeline for life. Like and make these things happen. So
Yeah, yeah. So you're 4 weeks out from the Colorado State show.
yes,
Is that the show that I
yeah,
did?
yeah. It's the one that you won that year, 2021.
Yeah. They sent me that. I finally got the ring for that show
You
this
got the
year.
ring.
Like now that
This-
I lived in Denver, Florida, and Jersey. I got it once I moved to Jersey.
oh, really?
Yeah, 2 years
That's
after.
fun. I'm doing So I'm only 5'6", so I'm doing classic physique class A,
Mhm.
and then I'm gonna do middleweight too because my classic physique cap is 175, and middleweight is 176. So I'm gonna do both classic and bodybuilding.
Might as well. And the plan is USA's.
Yeah,
USA's is July. What? Is it the end of the July?
27th. Yep,
So how many weeks out is that?
6. So 4 and 6.
4 and 6. Oh, so only a 2 week break. Okay. Is Bernie Scott going to be at USA's?
I think so.
Okay.
I think so. Yeah, that was the original plan. I need to talk to him again and make sure, but yeah.
That'll be fun. How do you feel so far?
Good. I mean, I think I look the best I've ever looked. I put on a lot of size in the last 2 years, probably since you've seen me or we've been together. I think I really started pushing like the bulk when you and me started working out.
Yeah.
Because then I got up to 205.
Wow. 205.56. That's crazy. So what? That was your peak weight? 205?
Yeah, peak weight was 205, and I'll come in at like 175, so about 30-pound prep.
Okay. And what does your diet look like?
I'm simple, man. It's shake and Rice Krispies in the morning, and then chicken and rice, beef and rice, chicken and rice, beef, dude. Like it's just rotating beef and rice and chicken and rice, and that's
Stacy
it.
bodybuilding diet.
Yeah, and that's what I kind of told him when we first started coaching together. I was like, dude, I don't eat the fancy foods. Just give me what is going to be simple. I can meal prep, make sure I hit them every day.
Okay. Yeah. So you don't have to do like anything different because of what your condition was. Like you're still following traditional high protein bodybuilding.
Cut out a little bit.
You don't have to do anything different from like a traditional bodybuilding standpoint because of your condition as far as diet goes. Like you still follow high protein and all that stuff.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. And like the difference is, I mean, obviously being natural, like we have to worry about losing too much size. That's good. That's the issue. So that what we did a really long prep so that we could try to maintain as much muscle mass as we can, lose the fat slowly, so that we can come in really conditioned and lean and hopefully still maintain all that size. You there? Looks like we're cutting out a little bit. You back?
Yeah, you're back.
Okay. Yeah, it just kept saying it was loading. You're reconnecting.
Yeah. Are you on Wi-Fi?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's working now.
So what were you saying?
Oh, I was just saying, we did a really long prep. We started like Jan 1, locked it in.
So how long is the prep total?
Well, it's from, I guess, July 13th, from January to July, 6 months.
Holy shit. How long have your preps been prior to this?
16 weeks.
Wow. But you feel good? You don't feel like
Yeah,
shit?
I mean, that was kind of the goal, take our time, do it right, try to maintain as much muscle mass as we can. Like we said, especially being natural, I'm going to have to come in really, really conditioned, but I don't want to lose too much size. So we try to play the slow game that way. But, I mean, everything's going great. I'm excited. The best I've looked. Just kind of go out there and have fun, see what happens.
Yeah, I'm excited. I'll be watching along. Anybody watching this, follow along too. Give them a follow. You got any advice out there? Any tips for people who might have been dealing with your situation, or just people who are natural bodybuilders, I guess?
Yeah, I mean the big one is just believe in yourself, trust yourself, and when I say that, that doesn't mean don't listen to other people. You still have. I try to learn from everyone around me.
Hmm.
And maybe you try it doesn't work for you, move on. And just say that's my biggest advice is believe in yourself, believe in your instincts, trust yourself, and learn as much as you can. And I've made the most amount of improvements in the last 3 years just by learning from everyone around me and just being grateful and humble to do what I love to do every day. I appreciate you just inviting me on here. We've been talking about it for a while, but it's just getting around the right people. Giving the right energy out, and that's something I focus on too. Is like positive. You speak positive, give out positive energy. Positive things are going to come back to you.
Absolutely. I definitely agree with you. Well, I think your story is very inspirational. You know, I think a lot of people can definitely take something away from it. You have overcame something that I think most people would honestly allow to defeat them. Which really you should never do. Like, it could be anything. It doesn't even have to be this. Any type of adversity, any obstacle you encounter in life, it's just you know maintaining a good mentality and pushing yourself through it, and not allowing what happens to you to overconsume you, and really like identify with that as this is it for me, right?
Yeah, yeah. I just want to touch on that a little bit too, because like last prep in when I did the Colorado Cup in 2022, my father-in-law passed 5 weeks out from the show. And so there's always something worse that could happen.
I'm sorry to
And
hear that.
no, thank you. He was a great man, but there's always something worse that could happen. So you need people. It's really hard, but you got to focus on every day and just cherish those moments you have, because you never know. Like you could be in the gym and your whole life could change like that. One rep could change your whole life.
Hmm.
We're all just 1 second, one bad moment away from your life changing forever.
Absolutely. I do have a question for you because I know I'm big on this. I think Matt is big on it as well. Do you practice any sort of like breath work or meditation?
Yeah, yeah. I went through like a whole spiritual awakening, like I told you, kind of like what Matt did on his own. I found like the healing frequencies that I like to listen to those just because I have a hard time meditating, just being like in absolute silence. Like that's difficult for me.
Hmm.
But I do. So if I use those frequencies for like cellular regeneration or health and things like that, I feel like I can. I like those. It'll help center me, get me focused, or just relax.
Okay. Have you ever
But
tried breath work?
um, sometimes like what's that guy? That
Wim
guy
Hof?
Gary. Do you follow that Gary guy?
Gary Preka?
Yeah,
I know who he
he
is. I don't
has.
follow him.
He's one of those guys we were talking about earlier, where he says some crazy claims.
Yeah, yeah,
But I do believe he does have some good breath work exercises that I've done in the past too.
yeah. Okay, I haven't seen his. I've done Wim Hof quite a
Okay,
few times, and Wim Hof is really cool.
send me the link to that.
I'll send you a link to it. We
Okay.
used to do it in Arizona all the time, and it basically like you learn how to hold your breath for a very long period of time because it's just like meditation. Like you have to basically force yourself to clear your mind completely because everything that goes on up here, like you don't realize how much this just impacts your ability to actually execute anything physically. And when
Mm-hmm.
you just completely have this silenced out and you're just tapped in, I literally held my breath underwater for it was 3 or 4 minutes. It is fucking insane because I would
Wow.
go in the pool and do this, and it's like holy shit, like you just fucking zone out.
Yeah.
It's crazy, but yeah,
Yeah.
I'll
And
send you
I
the links.
I
It's cool.
can I can relate to that because I can do that on the stairs sometimes when I'm just zoned in and I'm locked in. And it reminds me of wrestling because when you're in that 7 minutes and you're just wrestling and flowing, 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 it's very similar to that. Like there's when you have a good match like that, you can just zone out. You're
Hmm.
not thinking. It's all muscle memory. It's all what's already in your body and in your mind. You don't have to think. You're just moving.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
And so like I feel like I finally started to feel that feeling again.
That's great. I mean, yeah,
Yeah.
just the act of being present.
Yes.
It's powerful. But yeah, man. Anything you wanna You want to plug anything you got going on before you wrap this up?
No, I don't think so. I got a big quad day going on today.
There you go.
Armbrust got a few new machines this week, so I'm gonna go try them out, see how they go.
Okay. There you
Yeah, we
go.
got one of those new free motion squat machines. We'll see how it is.
Okay. Well, I don't think anything's beating the side by hack squat.
No, that's my favorite. That's my go-to. I'll probably do that first.
I know, I miss it.
Let me get strong on it. I'm happy.
Yeah.
I think I hit 6 plates per side for 12 reps a couple weeks ago.
Oh, that's solid. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a fucking great machine.
Yeah, and then I see Sean Clarita online hitting it for like 25, and I'm like, damn, I got room to grow for sure,
Yeah.
guys.
But all right, man. Thanks for coming on. Appreciate
Yeah,
the
of
time.
course. You're gonna have to come out here and come train with us.
I know I need to. I fucking miss that gym so much. I don't think I've ever been at a better gym. I have been at gyms that like are arguably like they're better, but it's just the environment.
Yeah.
The environment.
Yeah, there's gyms with better. There's probably gyms with better equipment, larger facility, cleaner.
Yeah.
But there's not the gym with those people.
Yeah, that culture, that environment. It's just you just once you're there, you just fucking want to work. You know.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
None of that tripod warriors over there, and all the TikTok.
Well, they're there.
They're there now. They came.
Yes, but Dylan and Zach put up a sign that says "No tripods Monday through Friday, 5 to 8 p.m."
Really? That's fucking
hilarious. So prime time, they're not out.
Oh, that's awesome. I know a lot of the bodybuilders left though.
We still got a few. We still got some. Dorian's still there. Heather's still there. John Withers is still there.
John. I haven't seen John in a while.
Yeah. He's awesome too. He's a good guy. Honestly, there's no bad people there, man. There's really nobody that I don't like. Then I have my friends there. We have like Matt Wellborn and Fleming that are there. Mm-hmm. Fleming looks great too, by the way, dude. I'm rooting for him this next week at juniors.
Oh, yeah.
You seen his pic? Yeah.
No, I haven't seen it.
Brett coaches him.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, I was Blake. I know who you're talking about. Yeah. Yeah,
he's looking good. He's huge, dude. Yeah. We did a video next to each other posing, and I'm class A, he's class D, I think. And he just mad. He's like 6'3" or 6'4", dude. He's just huge.
I know. You got to see. I don't know if you saw. Did a video with Quinn Beastwood. You know Quinn Beastwood?
Oh, yeah.
I did that last year, right after I had that growth hormone allergy, so I wasn't training for 3 months, which, again, I did same thing's happening now, but I was super small. Like, it was like my second week back into training. Even if I was at my biggest, though, but just me being that small and then training with this motherfucker who's like 6'3", he was like 340 or something, dude, I was like, holy shit, like, I look like a child who's never picked up a fucking weight. It was insane.
Yeah, I told him I looked like one of those hobbits from Lord of the Rings, and he's like one of those pretty elves that they got everybody loves.
That's hilarious.
Yeah.
All right, man. Yeah, I mean, thanks for coming on. Everybody watching, make sure you like this video. Make sure you're subscribed. Check Zach out. And anything else you got?
No, man. Thank you. You have a good day. I'll talk to you soon.
Yeah. All right. Well,
send me those links.
We'll see you on the next episode of Brass Tack Bodybuilding.